Hi, so in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to set up send effects and talk a little bit about why you might want to do this. So I've got a little demo track which I'm just going to play you, and then I'm going to add some reverb to it using a send effect. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to open up the mix window using the shortcut Command and 2. Just make this a bit bigger. So we've got a row of sends here, and you see all the tracks are sent out to bus 1 at the moment. Just ignore that, that's just there so I can make this video. But if we click below, we can send our tracks to more sends. So what I'm going to do is start with the claps and just click below there, and I'm going to send it out to a bus. So what a bus is it allows you to send signal from one place to another. It's very much like a bus in the real world. You get on a bus to get from one place to another. This sends signal from one place to another. So I'm going to choose any unused bus. So if I go to bus 2, you'll see that it's created what's called an auxiliary track, and then you can see we've got a row of our inputs there. So some of them are synthesizers, we've got a sampler, and an audio track. And now for the auxiliary tracks, you can see that they've got different inputs and they correspond to the buses. So the input for auxiliary channel 2 is bus 2, and that goes out to our stereo out, which is the main output that you guys can hear. So first of all, just so I can hear it, I'm going to send it to my record out bus 1. But you don't need to do that bit, okay? So what you'll see in a mo, I'm going to just solo the claps. When I turn it up the send, which is the little circle next to it, you'll see some signal start to appear through auxiliary 2. So when it's down, there's nothing there, but when we turn it up, that's with nothing. So you can see there's no signal coming through when it's on nothing. So what I'm going to do on auxiliary 2 is load a reverb plugin. So I'm going to go down to my reverb. So there's a few different ones. Chrome reverb, which is the newest one. It's a kind of a nice what they call an algorithmic reverb. Envelope verb, which is quite good if you want something a little bit different. Silver verb and space designer, which is the one I'm going to choose because it's an incredibly versatile and it's got loads and loads of different presets for us to try. So I want quite a large reverb and it will make it more obvious for our demonstration. So I'm going to try a spring reverb. In fact, I'll go for a medium spring reverb, maybe the drum plate. Okay, now we can edit the sound in here a little bit more, but we don't need to. We can EQ it even and things like that, but we're just going to leave it like that for the mo. So what you'll hear now is when I send some signal through bus 2 from the claps track, it's going to go through to our reverb channel, and I'm going to just label that now reverb 1. Keep the mixer nice and tiny. Useful as well if we come back to the track or anyone else is going to look at it so they can kind of understand what's going on. So as I turn that up, you'll start to hear reverb on the clap. So it lets us control how much reverb we're mixing in with what we call the dry signal, which is what comes straight from the track. And then we've got what's known as the wet signal, which is the reverberated signal, which runs through bus 2 through the auxiliary channel, which has our Space Designer Reverb plugin on it. So the great thing about send effects, and why you probably might want to choose them, particularly for reverbs and delays and things like that, is reverb adds ambience to a track. So what we essentially do when we put reverb on a track is put the track into an ambient space. So with this track, because it's made of different samples, so we've got some clap samples, we've got some drums that are sampled off a track that I made. You can still hear the reverb on that. And we've got some synthesized elements which have no natural reverb at all. So like this one, I think it's got some delay on it from inside the synth. And a bit of chorus, but no reverb. Because none of them have their own kind of natural ambience, or they all have different ambiences if they're samples, it's really handy to be able to unify the sounds a little bit through the use of reverb. And that's what I'm going to do here. And a really interesting thing to note is the more reverb you have on a channel, the further it will sound away from us. So it will sound more distant the more reverb we have, which really opens up the possibilities of mixing, because we can place things like left and right in the stereo field using the pan, which we find here. But we can also then push things back or bring things forward in the mix by how much reverb we have on different elements. So I'm going to add some more of the same reverb to the pluck sound, so this sound. And I think that'll take quite a lot of reverb. And then maybe I'll add a little bit to the break, just to help to unify the sounds, but only a tiny bit here. As you can hear, when I take all the reverb off the pluck, it kind of comes to the foreground, and as I put more reverb on, it pushes it further into the background. Okay, so yeah, hopefully that's been useful. So the kind of key points are setting it up. What a lot of people forget to do once they've set up the send as well is to actually send some signals. So it's really important you remember the little dial on your right actually sends the signal to the auxiliary track. If you don't do that, you won't hear any reverb. You'll just have set up the send through the bus, but you won't actually hear any. So the amount of reverb is controlled by this little dial here next to where it tells you what bus you're sending out through. And you can turn those on and off if you want as well, just to hear it without. And what I'll do is I'll just play the track without any reverb, so I'll mute the reverb auxiliary channel, and then I'll bring it back in so you can hear the difference. So that's without. Okay, so I hope this video has been useful to you, and thank you for listening.